Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, the Lord of the Rings first look just happened today, and if you're not sure where the first look is, well, neither am I. It just seems like an excuse for them to have, another, mini spoiler day before spoiler season. Before the actual spoiler of spoiler season. Anyways, Tom Bombadil is here. I definitely did not expect to see this in the Lord of the Rings set. Tom Bombadil, if you're only familiar with the movies, you might not recognize this character from Lord of the Rings because, well, Tom Bombadil is unexpectedly absent for whatever reason. Lord of the Rings fans, comment below and explain to everyone why. Anyways, Tom Bombadil is going to be an incredibly popular commander. I mean, I guess I can't guarantee that, but I think it's probably pretty much going to be pretty guaranteed because it's a commander that, well, many players out there have been waiting quite a long time for. Kind of like, Ghost Shintai of Life's origin, where players were waiting for, that Shrine Tribal Commander. Here is the Saga Tribal Commander, finally, and no offense to the Selesnya Shrine Tribal Commander, or Saga Tribal Commander, that we'll talk about here in a bit. But, yeah, this one is 5 color. This one is incredibly powerful. Here we go. A 4/4 God Bard. Yeah, that is quite the creature type. That costs Wooburg, 1 of each colors. Anyways, as long as there are 4 or more lore counters among sagas you control, Tom Bombadil has hexproof and indestructible. So for a Saga tribal deck, that is a very low amount to have to get to. And yeah, this becomes incredibly hard to deal with hexproof and indestructible. Very few things can deal with it. I mean, of course, there are a decent amount, but they're very specific, like, sacrificing, or, essentially like board wipes that exile, or board wipes that, put on the bottom of the library or whatnot. There aren't all that many ways to deal with something that's hexproof and indestructible, so this is going to be staying on the field for quite some time. And that's a good thing for you if this is your commander, because it also says, whenever the final chapter ability of a Saga you control resolves, reveal cards in the top of your library to reveal a Saga card. Put that card on the battlefield and the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now, keep in mind, there is that restriction, yes, which is probably definitely needed. Regardless, that restriction does say triggers only once each turn. So, first up, this can trigger on your opponent's turn. So if you've got ways to get more lore counters on your sagas, and we'll talk about some ways here in a bit, you can obviously trigger this on your opponent's turn, getting even more sagas in play. And of course, there's even more ways to use and abuse this trigger, and actually a way to kind of get around that restriction as well. So yeah, this commander, I think, is going to be incredibly popular. It's going to be one that is quite potent. It's going to be one that probably drives the prices up of sagas quite a bit for certain sagas at least. So yeah, if you are interested in this commander, well, I'm going to be talking about cards on this episode that are within my budget buys, cards that are less than $1 currently, cards that are within my budget, and then cards that are, well, outside of my budget, the pricier picks, cards that are above $1, and some of which might get much more than $1 after the reveal of this commander. If you are interested in Tom Bombadil and interested in building a deck around it, potentially, yeah, this set doesn't come out for quite some time, but still, when a new exciting commander like this one is spoiled, sometimes prices for cards that work well with it tend to go up sooner rather than later, so you might want to, well, click my link in the description below that's got all the cards I talked about on this episode, pick some of those up again sooner rather than later. Now, with all that said, let's jump into those budget buys. This is going to be quite the episode because I just remember that sagas have quite a bit of text. It's kind of like a Planeswalker enchantment. Anyways, here we go. The Eldest Reborn is a fantastic saga. So is Binding of the Old Gods, so is Mark Conjecture. You've got a lot of value you can get out of your sagas, and again, the more lore counters you get on them, obviously, the more effects they have. And also, yeah, as long as you get a couple of lore counters on your sagas, and you've got enough, your commander can be indestructible and hexproof, very hard to deal with. And once you get that third lore counter, usually you'd be saying, goodbye, saga, which is okay, and even better with this commander because, yeah, once that last lore counter happens and you sacrifice your saga, then you're like, you know what? We're just gonna get another one for free. So yeah, the Eldest Reborn. Hey, enter the battlefield, get that first one. Everyone else has sacrificed a creature or planeswalker. Goodbye. Second one, each opponent discards a card. Goodbye. Third one, let's get something out of opponent's graveyard, put it in play under our control. Binding the Old Gods, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. Go get a forest card on the battlefield tab. Creature you control gain Death Touch till end of turn. Mirari Conjecture. This one can be absolutely massive once you're set up properly. Return target instant card from your graveyard to your hand. We'll talk about some instants here in a bit that can be huge. Return target sorcery card is the second one. The third one is, hey, double up on every single one of your instants and sorceries. You can get a ton of value. You control the board. You control a lot of things. You can ramp. You can do just an absurd amount of high value plays with sagas. And there are ways to, of course, speed up the process of these. And, of course, to get even more of these in play thanks to this fantastic commander. Now, one that I might advise you against playing, depending on your play group, is Fall of the Thran, because that first lore counter is a doozy. Destroy all lands. Yeah, not what many players like Armageddon type effects. Now, the second and third lore counters do say each player returns 2 land cards to the grave of the battlefield, but still, hey, oh, so everyone has, 10 lands. This game's been going on for quite a while. Let's go back to, 0 lands. Then eventually 2, then eventually 4 lands. Yeah, you might lose some friends with this one. And of course, there are also ways to ensure that you don't get those other lore counters on this. And maybe you can just keep getting this back to keep destroying lands. So yeah, this one you might want to avoid putting in your Tom Bombadil deck if you want to keep your friends. Next up, Historian's Boon. It's an enchantment that can give you a lot of value with a deck like this. Whenever it or other non-token enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you get a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So, great. Again, your sagas are coming into play essentially for free thanks to your commander after you get things set up and you get things off the top of your library and into play. And then also on top of that, hey, whenever that final ability of a chapter of a saga you control triggers, yeah, you get your commander's trigger, but you also get this trigger, get a 4/4 white instant creature token with flying and vigilance. So essentially you're getting 2 creature tokens for the price of just 1 saga. And yeah, a total of 5 power, one of which is, 4/4 in the air. Pretty crazy. Setsuki, the Living Lore. There's the Selesnya commander I talked about earlier that deals with sagas. Tap on a lore counter each saga you control, activate as a sorcery. And then when Setsuki dies, you can choose one. Return a saga or enchantment creature you control back to its owner's hand, or return a saga from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, I mean, this can definitely help you out a lot. Again, just a simple tap can get extra lore counters on your sagas, which obviously can, eventually trigger your commander. Or yeah, you could just do that in response to someone trying to destroy your commander, and you're like, no, let's just get more lore counters on them. Thank you, goodbye. And yeah, when Setsuki does die, you can get a saga back from your graveyard back to your hand, which can be great. Now, do keep in mind, if you are a Setsuki player, you might be switching over to Tom Bombadil here anytime soon, right? But of course, another way to get counters on your sagas even quicker is, well, proliferating. And we got a lot of new proliferate effects, from the most recent set. One of which was actually a reprint with the Hummingbird, a great card. 1/1 flyer, when deals come to a player, you proliferate, which again means you choose any number of permanents and/or players and give each another kind of counter already there. So yeah, choose your sagas. Say, you know what? Let's get these extra lore counters on them. Let's get some extra value out of them. Let's get that trigger from our commander. You can do a lot of spicy things with proliferating with this deck. And yeah, I should say as well, there are instant speed proliferate effects too. So yeah, again, doing this on your opponent's turns, of course, can ensure that you are getting, the most out of this commander, even though it does have the restriction again. Ability triggers only once each turn. So yeah, make sure you're utilizing those. Speaking of instant speed, Cloud Shift. This is a somewhat sneaky way to get around that restriction as well. Exile target creature control, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So, again, your commander says, this ability triggers only once each turn, and it is your commander. However, if you blink your commander, it goes away, it comes back, and it's considered to be a new permanent, which means it doesn't remember if it actually resolved or not. So, yeah, this ability triggers only once each turn will happen again. Yeah, it'll say like, oh, okay, you get another saga to do that. But then once that happens, you can't do it again. So, yeah, if you keep blinking your commander, you can kind of get around that just on your turn or an opponent's turn as well. Search for Glory. Search live for a snow permanent. Nope. Legendary card. Maybe. Saga card. Yep. 3 mana for a spell that can go tutor up any saga for us. Get it right into our hand. Get the perfect saga for the situation that we are in. But now let's move on to the pricier picks, and there are some great ones. First up, Phyrexian Scriptures. Yeah, this is an incredible saga. Get a +1 counter up to 1 target creature. Cool, I mean, that could be our commander if we really want to. We don't have to, because our commander has other ways to be protected. Anyways, yeah, that creature comes an artifact. Cool. Destroy all non-artifact creatures. Yep. just goodbye probably all your opponent's creatures. Yeah, again, your Tom Bombadil's probably fine because you probably have Hexproof Indestructible. And if not, sure, yeah, maybe you did the first lore counter on that one. Anyways, number 3, exile cards from opponent's graveyards. Also, yeah, let's just ruin all the Reanimator decks, you know, all of the Aristocrat style decks that utilize, you know, a bunch of graveyards and, you know, any kind of, yeah, self-mill deck. Let's just ruin you with this. How about Urza Saga, though? This is a Saga that is a land as well, a very strange card. Hey, first lore counter, it can tap for mana. Cool. Second one, make a construct if you want to. Cool. Third one, go search up an artifact that costs 0 or 1, get around the battlefield, then shuffle. Sure, go get your Soul Ring or whatnot, but yeah, again, basically just a free Saga to get into play and to start things going. Karn's Bastion, speaking of lands, a great one. Tap for a colorless or pay for tap proliferate. So again, a great way to just, you know, have on a land to utilize this to essentially get more lore counters on your Sagas whenever you need. And also, again, to utilize this as a great way to get your commander's trigger on your opponent's turns, because you can activate this whenever you want. But speaking of proliferating, an enchantment that is not a Saga, but an incredible card for a deck like this, Inexorable Tide. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate. Now, anytime we cast a spell, we can choose to get more counters on whatever Sagas we want. This can make things go incredibly quickly, and we can just get an absurd amount of value out of our Sagas in absolutely no time. Speaking of value, Enlighten Tutor. Yeah, hey, go tutor up any artifact or enchantment. No, it doesn't go into your hand. It goes on top of your library, which normally would be worse, but in this situation, it is better because, hey, this 1-mana instance, like, you know what? Let's go get a Saga. Let's put it right on top of our library. Let's make it so that one of our Sagas, you know, resolves essentially its final chapter ability. Then we get this right off the top because, you know, most of the time it's going to be random on what Saga we get, right? We don't know what it's going to be, but of course there are fantastic ways to set the top of our library, and this is definitely one of the best ones for this deck. And speaking of one of the best ones, Replenish. Yeah, this card I believe is on the reserve list. It's incredibly expensive and for a reason. 4 mana, return all enchantment cards from your graveyard right into play. So hey, you know those Sagas that you just utilized? Let's get them back again for just 4 mana. Let's get all of them back into play, get all that value off their lore counters, and do it again. And I'm sure there's other ways to do that as well, right? And speaking of doing things again, well, Displacer Kitten has a word or two for you. Avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return the card to the battlefield on its own control. Now, this is an incredibly broken card in a lot of scenarios. This is an incredibly value-centric card with this commander, though. Again, kind of like Cloud Shift, like I mentioned, by blinking our commander, we can essentially get around, if we need to, that, you know, this ability only triggers once each turn clause. That being said, this is also a great way to reset Sagas. If we actually want to utilize, you know, again, maybe that first or second lore counter again, we can do so on a Saga. We just blink it, you know, it goes away, comes back, starts off from the beginning again. So this is a way to actually keep Sagas in play for longer and to really use and abuse specific ones. I mean, again, in combination with like Fall Thran, that's just mean. Yeah, do not do that unless your playgroup is okay with it. Now, something that you can do is something like Sporadic Resonator and Lithiform Engine. These are great cards to utilize with this commander. First one, pay 2, tap, copy target triggered ability you control, choose targets for the copy. Again, your commander has that triggered ability, right? And says, you know what? Let's just double up on that. Let's get that a second time. So we have 1 Saga go away. We are replacing it with 2 off the top, and that can be an absurd amount of value. Speaking of value, Lithiform Engine, yeah, pay 2, copy target activator or triggered ability control. So very similar to Sporadic Resonator, can do basically the exact same thing, but even more. Or pay 3, tap, copy an insert or sorcery that you control, or pay 4, tap, copy target permanent spell you control. So yeah, you can even copy your Sagas as well. So yeah, plenty of fantastic things that you can do when you're set up properly with a commander like this. Again, I definitely did not expect to see Tom Bombadil in this set at all. I did not think they'd be bringing Tom Bombadil back after, well, Tom wasn't in, again, the actual Lord of the Rings movies. And yeah, if you're not familiar with Tom Bombadil, go Wikipedia it or something. Or, I mean, again, please, Lord of the Rings fans out there, please comment below. And, you know, give the entire synopsis for Tom Bombadil. Thank you! Regardless, Sagas, yes, very flavorful for this God Bard. A great way to utilize them. A very powerful commander, again, that can be incredibly difficult to deal with. Again, hexproof, indestructible. Gross. Getting free Sagas off the top of your library. Gross. 5 color, giving you access to all of them. yeah, again, in my opinion, this is going to be a very popular commander. Again, kind of like Go Shintai of Life's Origin, where players are like, I really want a Shrine Commander. The Wizards are like, here's a Shrine Commander that's 5 color and is really good. And then this is like, hey, we want a Saga Commander. Here's a Saga Commander that's really good in 5 color. Yeah, this is going to be a commander, I think, that just is going to be big and splashy, and a lot of players are going to be very excited about. And again, if you are one of those players and you're interested in it, even though this commander is not coming out for quite some time, again, I think the next spoiler season is actually, March of the Machine. So we're way before Lord of the Rings. That being said, when players do see a new exciting commander like this one get spoiled, sometimes cards that work well with it, and again, there are plenty of them, hint, hint, wink, wink, sagas, you might want to pick some of those cards up sooner rather than later, because sometimes those cards spike in price. So yeah, make sure you check out the card list link in the description below, and also make sure that you're staying tuned to this channel for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming out soon. And with that, today's episode is coming to a close. So yeah, in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.